Kamakhya, Jai Bhairava. So today, almost at the end of 2025, we have already entered that specific phase where, as I had been mentioning for quite some time, there are certain strong planetary realignments that are happening, and at the end of the day, planets are only um, an indicator of the collective karmas of people, whether it's an individual horoscope or that of a nation or a race of people. Graha is mainly just an indicator of the energies that have built up over long periods of time. So we are at this moment into that phase uh, of our collective destiny as a nation, where the uh, upsurge of Bhairava is inevitable. It has already started. There are thousands of people who do various types of practices, including the very simple one of chanting Om Bhairava. And as many of you who have been following me will be aware, that on Ashtami Tithis, uh, there are like thousands of people who participate in the Vishesh Bhairava Sadhanas. These are very simple sadhanas, but extremely effective. Apart from that, I also ensured that through the Kamakhya Bhairav Foundation, uh, we are able to do sevas in multiple Shiva temples across India and Bhairava temples across India, and the list keeps increasing with new sevas and new ways, in which we can serve the deity, along with the Sankalpa that his blessing and his protection comes to this nation. Of all things, it is absolutely mandatory that Bhairava's protection is needed as a country, as a race of people, as as a collective at this point of time, because it is he who protects a kshetra of all things. He is also the one who controls what is known as the Ashtambhava, or the eighth, or the Ashtama. Ashtama is, if anybody with even the slight knowledge of Jyotish would know that eighth is the house of all that is not seen by the normal eyes. It is the house of death. It is also the house of reawakening, which is precisely what he does when he takes off Brahma's head. He breaks the system that exists so that something new, transformative, and more powerful can come into existence. And in order to do that, it is Shiva who takes the Swarupa of Bhairava, and it's a Bhayankara Swarupa, because the world of death or earth that we exist in, our plane of existence, has one definitive reality, and that is death. So, whosoever is born will eventually end up shedding their body at some point or the other. Everything else is subjective, but death is a reality. And given this condition, therefore, uh, perhaps in order to manifest that reality, that you know uh, without any kind of conditionings, without any kind of trying to put a kind of glossy image into over the reality of things, we have the swarup of Shiva, who comes as Bhairava, as very fierce and very terrifying. But it's terrifying because we see from the eyes of duality. He who sees from the eyes of Advaitam, Devata Advaitam, not necessarily Vedantic Advaitam, would perhaps see that everything is, at the end of the day, like an expansion of the Bhairava consciousness. He is the ultimate Purusha Tattva in our plane. And once an individual is able to go very deep into this uh, practice, into this meditation, actually, it is not just a japa. First, you start with japa, first, you start with rituals, and eventually it ends into a meditation, and that meditation transforms you. You reach that final state of reality beyond which there is nothing, and you don't care what happens before or after, and that makes you fearless. This, in essence, is the real gift of Bhairava Sadhana. I mean, there could be miraculous abilities, this and that, etc. All that is fine, but it is the final culmination point is this, an absolute deep state of samadhi, like meditation, when finally even that Nama Mantram Bhairavaya Nama can take an individual to. And we have seen how I have seen reactions of this in my mailbox with people, sending in how it has transformed them, how it has caused an upsurge of strength, inner strength, and that energy to go through life without being scared. It need not be that there is a great amount of material benefit that will come, because there is no single formula ever devised by any individual in the world, today, tomorrow, in the past, or sometime in the future, which can cure all the material problems. It is impossible. But what can be done, the real spiritual goal is so that you attain a state of such detachment and inner joy, a state of bliss, and yet detached from everything around, because you realize that all that is happening around you is just a flow of karmic flow of things that have been triggered and set into motion by various activities from past existences. Plus, there is interaction of various forces, not just an individual's karma, it is also the karma of the nation, of the race, of the people, of multiple things zigzagging together, actually, uh, working in tandem, with nature being the final accountant and the judge of deciding that what kind of action karma is going to produce what kind of karma phala at what point in time. And nobody has a complete picture of this except for nature. And this we find even in the Bhagavad Gita. So, in that context, as people have been doing the Vishesh sadhanas of Bhairava for this period of time, and we are right now at the cusp, almost the end of 2025 when I'm recording this video, and the next year is about to start, 2026. This is the right time to slightly modify this Vishesh sadhana on the Ashtami Tithis, and this is mainly for people who have been already doing it, as well as people who plan to start doing it. So some instructions I will be giving in this video, which are to be followed for all the Bhairava Upasakas who have been doing the Nama mantra for the last 2-3 years, who have done Anushtans of the mantra for the coming whole year at least. So every Ashtami Tithi, light either 8 diyas, lamps. You can reuse these diyas, by the way, because that's a question that comes up often. So once you have used those diyas, you can keep them and you can reuse them. But 8 diyas, and all these 8 have to be filled with any kind of oil, whether it's mustard oil or til oil, doesn't matter. But either of the two is preferable. So 8 diyas, or 2 diyas which have 4 wicks each. So that means 8 flames basically, right? Put some Naivedyam, any Naivedyam you want. There's no restriction to the Naivedyam. It could be vegetarian, it could even be non-vegetarian. There's no problem. Eggs are all good to give, boiled eggs. Or if you are giving vegetarian Naivedyam, then you can put it, uh, whatever food is being prepared. Mind you, however, like in the case of any Devata Upasana, when we are preparing some Naivedyam, we have to do it in the right kind of container, and we should not be tasting the food before it's offered to the Devata. These small rules have to be followed. So once you have the Naivedyam, or if you don't have any Naivedyam, you can just give sweets. Sweets are good enough. Okay. So once you prepare the Naivedyam, you keep it in front of the deity. You make a portion of the a part of the Naivedyam, actually you keep it slightly separate. So you initially, once you start the sadhana, you can keep the Naivedyam in front and start, and the end of the sadhana you separate out a part of it which is to be put outside, to as the Vishesh sadhana processes have been going on over the last 1-2 years, and those who have been doing it, they're already aware. So a portion of the Naivedyam has to be given outside for the Vahanas of Bhairava and others to consume, and the rest of the Naivedyam can be consumed by the Upasaka as prasadam, right? So now once you light these 8 diyas and you have the Naivedyam, you take a manasik simple sankalpa. Sankalpa Vakya is already present in the documents, it will be shared. I mean, those who are again aware of this, they are already aware that what sadhana to do, but more or less it is for the protection of dharma, protection of desha, for the country and for uh, Hindu dharma in general. And you chant 108 malas of the Nama mantra, Om Bhairavaya Nama. It doesn't take too long, especially for people who have been doing for a long time. It should not be that difficult. Along with it, there will be chanting of the Kala Bhairava Ashtakam 8 times and the 108 names of Vatuka Bhairava to be done 11 times. So Kal Bhairava Ashtakam 8 times and 108 names of Vatuka Bhairava to be done 11 times, right? In some Ashtami Tithis, in case there is a modification in this count, I will be mentioning that. My team will be mentioning that through the WhatsApp channel. Uh, you can follow that and you can get those instructions. But more or less, this is the base idea. Along with it, and this is important, especially for the next year, try and fast during the Ashtami Tithi. Now, fasting is again a generic term, and there will always be questions that, I can't fast or this or that, etc. That's up to the individual. The strictness of this the strictness of the fast is entirely dependent on the specific individual. If your body does not allow a very strict fast, then maybe you can consume fruits or something. Avoid rice, roti, sabji, or main dishes. If you're able to do a very strict fast of not consuming anything, that is ideal, of course. But it's up to the individual. It's not that you have to do it and then fall sick. Rather, eat less, eat fruits maybe on that day. If you are unable to do a complete and strict, very, absolutely by the rules fast. If not, or those who can do it, they should do it. At the same time, within the Ashtami Tithi, either if it's physically possible for you, then perform an Annadanam, at least feed one individual, if not many individuals. Prepare some food and go out, and if you find any poor person, anybody, just give him that food. And remember that along with it, you also have to, as I already mentioned, a portion of the Naivedyam, the portion of the Bhog has to be offered to the Vahanas of Bhairava outside. That is also important. So in this way, if you do the sadhana for the next year, especially for people who have been doing the Om Bhairavaya Nama, Japa and Anushthan, etc., it will bring a tremendous amount of spiritual development in 1 year and great contact with the Bhairava Tattva. It will also remove many doshas. Sorry, it will also remove many kind of afflictions or doshas in the horoscope and other things. See, this sadhana, it's if you have some knowledge of Jyotisha, just to explain to people, as I mentioned, the Bhairava connects to the 8th house and the number 8, the Ashtabhairavas, etc. Very important. So 8th is that house of the horoscope which is like a blind spot. Every individual, that part of his or her life or his or her consciousness which he cannot see, uh, cannot process properly, for lack of better words, the occult, that which is not visible, that which comes suddenly, that which is like death, a great transformation, or the awakening of the Kundalini Shakti, or various other aspects, for example, of the 8th house. These are all governed by these are all governed by Bhairava's energy. And the Grahas that connect to Bhairava's energy, one of them on the 8th, the Kalpurusha 8th house has Mars and Ketu lording these two houses. So Mars is a very physical planet. It denotes your body in some senses. It is also the Graha that controls the first house of the Kalpurusha. So that is in a way the cause of both your birth of your means any individual's birth in this plane, physical plane, as well as the cause of sudden injuries, deaths, sudden kinds of unforeseen events that happen. At the same time, there is the other graha which is like the higher resonance of Mars, which is Ketu. Ketu is the graha among all the grahas which does not have a pair of eyes, which in other words is kind of a state that does not judge but goes by instinct, that is reflective and meditative. The more inwardly it turns, the greater it performs because it simply doesn't have eyes. On the other hand, because it doesn't have physical eyes, Ketu is the graha that can give you darshanam of a devata. Yes, Ketu has the power to take you into that realm for specific individuals where he or she can have a direct contact, a vision of the deity. Because a vision cannot come through the normal senses. Our normal eyes, normal senses are diverted, attracted, and uh, sort of pulled away towards everything in the material plane. We do not have that necessary focus, which is why in normal meditation, the first thing a person does is to close his eyes so that he can look inwards. Because if the eyes are closed, very often your standard meditation, I mean, yeah, there is possibility that there may be people who can keep their eyes open and meditate. It's a different matter. But more or less, Ketu is representative of all these things. So when dogs are fed, when the Vahana of Bhairava is fed, especially on Ashtami Tithi, it helps to balance the energies of Rahu Ketu in an individual's life. In this age, these are the two most crucial grahas which, for good or bad, they govern how an individual is able to function in life, and those areas where there is a lot of karmic energy that have to be processed and moved forward, whether again for good or bad, it depends on the individual horoscope. Not going into that, but the balance of the energy of Rahu and Ketu, turning them slightly more favorable towards oneself, is done when after Bhairava Upasana we are able to feed the Vahanas of Bhairava. So that is why when anybody is doing this sadhana, a portion of the Naivedyam has to be offered uh, to dogs. People in India, those who can do it, fine. If somebody is unable to do it, then you can at least donate something to any kind of a organization or NGO or something that looks after dogs, that takes care specifically those that take care of their medical dogs which are animals which are injured, especially dogs which are injured, and there are NGOs that work to help provide them medicine and healing and treatment and all that. You can even donate to them. That helps in Bhairava Sadhana, no doubt about it, especially on Ashtami Tithis. So, which is why the Kamakhya Bhairava Upasak Foundation also uh, connects to these type of NGOs, and we uh, try and help them with medicines and other things that can be used for the treatment of dogs who have been injured, who are rescued and injured, like that. So, this sadhana is to be done throughout the year. In case there is any modification in the counts, I will be informing it through the WhatsApp channel, but more or less, the key addition to this is fasting during the Ashtami Tithi, a part of the Naivedyam to be consumed as bhog, and a part to be given to the Vahanas of Bhairava. Along with it, also, if possible, to feed somebody, one individual. It could be anybody. I mean, whether if you're not able to do it within the Ashtami Tithi, then do it the next day. But if it's within Ashtami, it's even better. Fasting, feeding an individual, feeding the Vahanas of Bhairava, 8 diyas, 108 malas of the basic Nama mantra of Bhairava, along with it, 8 Kal Bhairavashtakam and 11 counts of the 108 names of Vatuka Bhairava. Now, I have not, to the best of my memory, I have not done any specific videos on the 108 names of Vatuka Bhairava, because those are extremely potent. I have used them in various kinds of sadhanas and prayogas over time. In fact, they're so powerful and potent that when they're done beyond a certain point, they not only invoke Vatuka, but they also can invoke Kal Bhairava even. That's the power of those Ashtattara Namas of Bhairava, which come from Rudra Amala Tantra. However, for our purposes, we do it 11 times uh, with absolute faith on Bhairava, and also with the prayer that may his energy help to sustain Dharma both in this country and for the people who believe in Dharma. This is important because you will see that if you are able to follow these instructions at least for a year, there is going to be a lot of rearrangement of blockages that are there in an individual's destiny, so that one makes quick spiritual progress. So we are already passing through some very turbulent times because of the which is also indicated in the grahas, and we see a manifestation of that in terms of a sudden increase in conflicts, increasing different kinds of all around us there are news of various types of activities which are detrimental to people who are followers of dharma. So you will see that there are attacks and various things that are happening. So grahas are indicative of these kind of things that are going to happen for the next few years. in which case Bhairava Sadhana works as a very solid protective base so that the negative karmas are reduced, or at least they are marshaled in a way that we can make quick spiritual progress. A thing that I've mentioned multiple times, it is perhaps from the 13th century onwards that Bhairava Upasana in general reduced across India, and Bhairava turned more into a Kshetrapala, or just a protected deity in the larger tantric, Shakta tantric scheme. Perhaps it is time now for the reawakening of Bhairava Tattva, where he becomes the primary deity again. Along with it, of course, there are Devi Upasanas. Everything comes as a complete package. But it is also important that we place Bhairava right back into the center of our consciousness. And the best part is that he's such an awakened deity in this Kali Yuga. His presence is so strong, so vibrant, that even with various types of practices, even with a simple Nama mantra, you will experience the energy, the fearlessness that he gives. That determination, that strength, that ability that you can go through anything, whatever the obstacles, whatever the difficulties, whatever the circumstances. There is this absolute strength, this iron will that comes into an individual. That is the biggest blessing of Bhairava. And also the ability to face truth as it is. Individual becomes once an individual is able to accept reality as it is without making excuses, because all of us spend our time giving various types of delusional excuses. We lie to ourselves more than to the world, and this itself is the biggest blockage in anybody's spiritual growth. And these lies don't convince the deities. They know exactly what an individual is, because you are what you finally do. Your actions are what will define you. Words mean nothing. Everybody can say a lot of things. It is finally the actions that govern an individual's energy, and that in turn governs his aura, his lifestyle, his speech, everything. Only at a later stage you understand how speech is. At the initial stages of sadhana, we speak that which is the truth. The speech is supposed to follow reality. Reality is what is. Reality is the truth, Satyam. Only at a very high state, when the Upasaka has been blessed by the gods, by the deities, that reality will follow his speech. So that itself is the condition which we call as Vak Siddhi, where there is something that comes out of an individual's mouth. There is a great force in nature that ensures that it will eventually come true. Anyway, uh, ending this video here. So next year, focus on this specific sadhana, as I mentioned, especially for people who have been doing the Bhairava Nama Japa for the last 1-2 years. Do not forget that the Ashtamis are the most important tithi for Bhairava. Follow these instructions for a year and you will see that it will bring you great amount of spiritual growth. And for those people who are looking to start Bhairava Sadhana, seeing these videos, may start doing the Om Bhairavaya Nama Japa along with this specific sadhana on the Ashtami Tithis. Because remember, when you are approaching a deity, it is equally important that you honor the specific day which is uh, sort of important for the deity. Because by honoring that day, you are also building your strength and commitment to that particular sadhana and practice. And once this is done over a period of 2 or 3 years, then it builds a very strong connection. Your consciousness binds very strongly to that deity. And from the deity's, Devata's point of view, uh, the Devata and his or her parivaras also take notice of the individual. That this Upasaka is serious about the sadhana. Is not somebody just doing something for 10, 15 days, a few months, and then shifting to something else. That does not show commitment. Commitment from the deity's point of view is how long does one sustain the sadhana. At the end of the day, success in Upasana comes through discipline, through patience, and through commitment to the path. These are very, very crucial things. So experiences are secondary to these, which means that somebody can start a sadhana and may have fantastic experiences, good or bad. Whether good experience or bad experience, it does not guarantee commitment to the path. It does not guarantee patience that is required to actualize a complete transformation of the consciousness. We do sadhana so that we change ourselves. It is not because there is a job that I will get or there is some other magic that is going to happen. It may happen or it may not happen. But that's not the aim. If you tie it continuously to immediate material gains around you, then eventually there will be a time when, for various factors, karmic and otherwise, when in spite of all sadhanas that you do, you will see that absolutely nothing is happening around you. There are neither positives nor negatives. That is where your consciousness is challenged by nature to see if boredom can offset you from the path. Only those who have the tenacity to pass through all this unflinchingly, who do sadhana in a manner in the same way that you have food every day. You do not, there may be good days and bad days, but you don't forget to eat. Same way, there may be good days and bad days, but you don't forget to do the sadhanas. That is what is commitment. And when that is done for a period of 3 years, that is the first contact with the deity. When that is done for a period of 12 years, then you are absolutely set on the path of that devata. By that time, the karmic bond that is created by the upasaka, along with the energy of the deity, is so solid that you are set not only for one lifetime, but for lifetimes to come. I hope it's helpful, and I wish everybody uh, does the Bhairava sadhanas, especially those who have been following me. And may there be a lot of blessings, spiritual blessings from Lord Bhairava to all who are hearing this video. Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Bhairava, Jai Matara.